Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Fast Break. I am Casey Johnson. We are presented by Dunkin' Donuts, and as usual, I have 4 storylines that I'm going to be monitoring this week. The first is the lone appearance by, yes, none other than Victor Wembanyama. And you may be watching this episode after the Spurs-Bulls game, so you'll know how he fared in his lone trip to the United Center. But I implore you, if you missed his matchup against the Bulls, and why would you really, make sure to check him out this season. This guy has a chance to be a generational talent. Newsflash there. And I'm going to tie this into the Bulls before, after I get through some of his numbers. He's playing in a different style this season if you've watched his early games. He's taking way less threes, getting down in the post more, working from those high elbows. In fact, his three-point attempts are down from 8.8 per game down to 3.8 per game. And his free throw attempts have jumped from 4.1 per game to 7.2 per game. Defensively, he still remains a marvel. 3.8 blocks per game, 12.9 rebounds per game. He's a freak. And the Bulls actually practiced in the gym for the Parisian team that he was on when they were out there for that Pistons game in January 2023. So there was buzz, obviously, about Victor Wembanyama back then. The Bulls were aware of it. And I talked to a couple of his teammates from the Spurs, Zach Collins and Trey Jones, about how he's navigated that. And that's really, to me, one thing you have to give this guy credit for is just in this day and age, to have that much hype associated to you and then come out and play to this level. It's pretty impressive stuff. And again, he's just still kind of finding his way in year 3, coming off that injury last year, that scary situation with the blood clot that he returned from. So, man, it's been a revelation watching him this season. And I've always been a fan of sustained greatness, having been fortunate enough to cover Michael Jordan early in my career, and then obviously being around for the entire 21-year run of LeBron James. It's just really impressive stuff. And I really think Victor Wembanyama has a chance to be among one of the all-time greats. So if you didn't catch his Bulls matchup, make sure to tune in at some point this week or this season to a Spurs game. It's going to be worth your time. All right, second storyline. Josh Giddey, we all saw it, the ankle breaker in Cleveland. He had some fun with that post-game. I'll get into that for a second. We're taping this on Monday after shoot-around. Josh Giddey was walking around without a limp. You'll know by the time you watch this whether or not he played in Monday's game against the Spurs. Long term, there does not seem to be a lot of concern over this injury. He did return to that game in Cleveland after DeAndre Hunter crossed him over so badly that he fell down. But, you know, given his usage and his importance to this team, you obviously want that ankle and Josh Giddey to be at 100%. And, you know, he told us, like, post-game in Cleveland, he wouldn't have gone back out there if he didn't have a chance to help his team try to win. So he's always going to be cognizant of that. But it didn't look like he was moving quite with the same pop that he has in the first early stages of this season. So something minor to monitor the ankle. As far as that ankle breaker move, as I mentioned, he had some fun with it. It's pretty remarkable that 2 such high-profile defensive situations have transpired in Cleveland. I shared on the broadcast, the game broadcast that night in Cleveland on November 15th, 2024, to me was really a seminal moment in Josh Giddey's young Bulls career. That was the night he only played 15 minutes, kept getting benched by Billy Donovan for defensive lapses, and was repeatedly targeted by the Cavaliers in that 24-25 season. And man, I will never forget that post-game session. It was like a therapy session. Josh Giddey really kind of opened up a vein and talked about how he was tired of being targeted by opposing teams and how he knew he had to look inward and be a better defender. And I maintain since that night onward, he really has been. Again, he's never going to be locked down, individual one-on-one defender. But what I've seen from Josh Giddey since that November 15th, 2024 night is a much more physical defender, a much more engaged defender, someone who's taking more pride in that end. And really, I think responsibly, as far as team defense goes, he's been in the right place more often than not. So that really, to me, marked a pretty significant moment in his young Bulls career. And so it's kind of wild that close to almost exactly a year later, he goes back to Cleveland and is involved in another high-profile defensive incident. But he had some fun with it. He said, look, you never want to end up on a highlight reel like that. If you watch the play, he was kind of up on his tiptoes as he was trying to guard DeAndre Hunter, and then Hunter just hit him with a nasty crossover, and Giddey fell down and rolled his ankle. Never a good look, but for him to come back again shows some toughness and resilience. I will say Cleveland was kind of targeting him in that game too. They had him in a lot of screen roll with Evan Mobley. They were trying to get him switched on to Mobley. He had a really, really strong defensive one-on-one sequence against Mobley late, though. If you watch it, it was that time where Mobley, from my seat, shoved him out of bounds, and they called a turnover on Giddey when it should have been a foul on Mobley from my seat. So, again, he's taking more pride in that end. That's the defensive stuff. Let's get into the offensive stuff, because obviously he is playing at a ridiculous clip. As we tape this the afternoon of the Spurs game, Monday, he's averaging close to a triple-double with 21.4 points, 9.6 rebounds, 9.3 assists. Here's the big thing to me. He has picked up right where he left off, shooting from that three-point range. Last year was a career high. Well, he's already bettering that in this early stages of this season, shooting a career high 38.5% from three-point range. And more importantly, that's on a career high 4.3 attempts per game. So he's just letting it fly with a lot of confidence. And when he's shooting from three-point range, he's obviously a much more impactful player. He's also averaging a career high 34.1 minutes per game. And speaking to his importance, his usage rate is at a career high of 27.8. So the Bulls are asking a lot of Josh Giddey, which we knew. This is why they signed him to that 4-year, $100 million deal. He was the focal point of this iteration for the future, and he's really responded early on in this season, and so you want him to get past the ankle issue and be at full strength so he can continue operating at such a high level at both ends. All right, our third storyline, Coby White. Solid development today, Monday. He was assigned to the Windy City Bulls of the G League. And you may think, okay, demotion? No. Just for a practice. The Bulls had shoot-around at the Advocate Center. The NBA Bulls had shoot-around at the Advocate Center Monday morning, followed directly by a Windy City Bulls practice at the Advocate Center, in which both Coby White and 𝗻𝗁cie 𝗰𝗶𝗹 participated. I'm taping this as that practice goes on, so we don't know how he's going to come out of that. As we all know, the last time Coby White underwent a contact practice, that's when some tightness in that calf developed, but the Bulls calmed that situation down, and they're hopeful this time when Coby White is placed through contact, he continues feeling as well as he has without contact, because he's been doing a lot of on-court work with the player development staff and one-on-one, two-on-two, three-on-three work. So if he goes through these contact practices this week, the target is for Coby White to play on this upcoming West Coast trip that begins Sunday in Salt Lake City against the Utah Jazz. That's not to say that Coby will play in that game. That's just when the window of opportunity opens for him. The Bulls have 3 off days between that Detroit road game on Wednesday and the Sunday game against the Utah Jazz. They'll have one of those days off, but Coby will come in for some individual work with the player development staff. And then they're going to have 2 contact practices. And Coby's going to go through those with the hopes, again, that he does not experience a setback like he did last time, and he returns to the court sometime on that 3-game West Coast trip. What will happen when Coby White returns? We've kind of covered this before. There's been some small segment of Bulls fandom that thinks he may disrupt the chemistry, to which I say, are you crazy? He's your best offensive player. He's not a selfish player. He's not a ball stopper in his own words. And if you watched that 15-5 finish to last season, his chemistry playing off and on the ball with Josh Giddey was lights out. In fact, Billy Donovan has made a point this season of playing lineups with at least 2 ball handlers, primary ball handlers in it. And Coby White gives you that option. And so you can maybe drop that usage rate from Josh Giddey that I talked about prior and have Coby White start cooking. Now, he will come back on a minutes restriction whenever he does return. But look, anytime Coby White is in your lineup, you're a better team. And I know Coby's been completely itching to play and completely bored out of his mind. He's driving the public relations staff crazy with his antics. He's having some fun with media. He's ready to return. So if that happens on that 3-game trip, it will be a welcome sight. All right, our last topic that's on my mind this week is, I mentioned the 3-game trip. Bulls got a little tough stretch here. 4 straight road games starting Wednesday in Detroit, and 8 out of the next 10 on the road. Now the Bulls are off to a 6-0 start at the United Center and a 1-3 start on the road. This is again before the Spurs game, so we'll see if that home record stays unblemished. But they're only 1-3 on the road. Now, by all accounts, the Bulls felt like they should have won that game in Cleveland. It's actually their first clutch loss. They were 4-0 in clutch games, which are defined by any game within 5 points or less and under 5 minutes to play. Bulls felt like they gave that one away. And, 1-3 on the road and such a great home record is a reversal of last season when they were 18-23 at home and 21-20 on the road. Pretty rare for a play-in team to have a over 500 road record, but that's what the Bulls did last season. So they want to get that road record up, and they've got an opportunity with 4 straight road games and then 8 out of the next 10 on the road. But this is some pretty tough competition. I mean, obviously you go out on that West Coast trip, and Portland is playing much better this season. Denver obviously got the best player in the world, 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗍𝗶 𝗍𝗶. So they're going to be tested, and I know that they felt like they gave that one away in Cleveland, so they really want to obviously start approaching that road record with a little bit more urgency, and this is to get their opportunity. All right, so those are the storylines. We're back with another Banner Bull, which is the segment we started a couple episodes ago where I pick one bull that I think is going to have the most impact on the week ahead. Kind of 0 for 2, not going to lie. Picked 𝗵liche 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀. I almost called him 𝗵liche 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀. Picked 𝗵liche 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀 last week, and let's just say he had his first game without a 3-pointer in Cleveland, and also only 1 double-double in the 3 games played last week. So it's not like he was bad, but he certainly wasn't the most impactful bull. So I got to get one of these right? My banner bull for this week is Ayo Dosunmu. He's back from that quad contusion, played very, very well in back-to-back games in Milwaukee and Cleveland, albeit on a minutes restriction. And that minutes restriction is expected to lift, if not Monday's game against the Spurs, definitely by Wednesday in Detroit. So what are you going to see with Ayo Dosunmu back off a minutes restriction? You're going to see a guy probably in that closing lineup. In fact, I got a lot of questions why he was not in that closing lineup Saturday's game in Cleveland instead of Tre Jones. That's why he hit his minutes restriction. So without him on a minutes restriction, Billy Donovan has trusted him to close games. He's been very impactful at both ends and played very, very well, as I mentioned before, in those first 2 games back, averaging 10.5 points, 2 assists per game, and 1 steal on those reduced minutes. Man, he's just been really shooting well from 3-point range. He's at 40% as we tape this, and he's so important to the Bulls' style of play. Obviously, one of the best downhill players on the roster. If you watch him after made or missed baskets, he's always looking to push the pace, always looking to get downhill, always looking to touch the paint, which does not always mean a shot at the rim. It sometimes means a kick out for an open 3. He's been, to me, one of the most effective players for the Bulls at doing that this year. And so that's why he's my banner bull for this week. And let's see if I can finally get one right. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Fast Break. As always, we appreciate you checking us out on YouTube or however you are consuming this. We'll be back with another episode next week. Take it easy.